Eldridge was the kind of town where silence said everything. It was in the way people smiled but didn't speak, waved but didn't wait. And between Rosewood Lane and Maple Crescent, silence built a wall taller than any fence. On one side lived Amara Devonshire, the girl with a face made for magazine covers and a heart trained to stay quiet. Her world was velvet and chandeliers, ballet lessons, and Sunday brunches served on plates you weren't allowed to touch. At St. Celeste Academy, she was the star everyone admired but no one truly saw. Even at home, her presence was more like a portrait on a wall, beautiful, untouched, and mostly ignored. A street away, on cracked sidewalks and rusted mailbox posts, lived Aiden Rivera, with oil on his hands and a weight on his shoulders. He wasn't popular, but he was known. Known for helping others, for skipping meals so his sister could eat, for fixing bikes and sometimes hearts when nobody else was listening. Eldridge High taught him how to hustle, how to fight for a future that wasn't promised. They might have lived a lifetime without ever knowing each other. But fate has a strange sense of timing. One summer evening, the sky was leaking golden rain when Amara's golden retriever, Bentley, slipped through the gate and darted down the street. She chased him in silk shoes not meant for running, her breath catching as her perfect world unraveled in the pouring rain. Bentley barreled into Aiden's yard, muddy and thrilled. Aiden, sitting on the steps fixing a broken radio, looked up just in time to catch Bentley and then catch her, soaked, breathless, and looking like she'd fallen out of a painting. He offered a towel. She took it with trembling fingers. "Thanks," she whispered. "Sure," he said, stunned that someone like her could look so lost. That 5-minute rescue turned into 5 weeks of late evening talks. They met at the old park bench hidden behind the school, at the alley where the mural changed every month, and most often, at the fence between their worlds, the wooden one that separated her backyard from his. She told him secrets she'd never said aloud. Like how her mother left with more love in her suitcase than she'd ever shown Amara in person. Like how her father measured worth in accomplishments, not in moments. He told her how hard it was to raise a sister while still trying to be a kid himself. How dreams felt dangerous when you couldn't afford to chase them. And somehow, in between all that pain, they laughed. Hard. Loud. Real. They were so different, silk and denim, silver spoons and soup cans, yet when they looked at each other, it felt like home. But love doesn't grow without resistance. One night, Amara's father saw them through the fence. A boy in a hoodie and dirt-smudged jeans handing his daughter a daisy through a gap in the wood. He erupted. "He's not one of us." Amara's voice trembled, but she stood her ground. "No. He's better." She was grounded. Her phone taken. The backyard off-limits. But love remembers. On the first day of the fall festival, Amara walked away from her table of caviar samples and violin solos and found Aiden painting faces in the community tent, a line of kids and joy behind him. She didn't care who watched. She walked straight to him. He looked up, paint on his fingers, heart in his throat. "Are you okay?" he asked, the way he always did. "No," she said, smiling through tears. "But I am now." And she kissed him. Right there, in front of everyone, on a day that smelled like cinnamon and change. The fence still stood, but it didn't matter anymore. Because love had already climbed it. Love is not just something you feel. It's something you choose. Again and again. Amara and Aiden chose each other, in whispers and bold moments, through the fence and in front of crowds. But love, especially when it challenges what people expect, doesn't get to grow quietly. Word spread. At St. Celeste, girls who used to envy Amara now whispered behind her back. "She's wasting herself. Dating a mechanic's son? She could have had anyone." At Eldridge High, Aiden's friends half-joked, half-warned. "You think she'll still be here after prom? She's not staying once college starts." Careful, man. Hearts like hers weren't made for streets like this. But they stayed. Every Saturday, Amara tutored kids at the Maple Crescent Community Center. Aiden, with his calloused hands and soft heart, volunteered to fix anything broken: windows, heaters, confidence. They were no longer just a rich girl and a poor boy. They were Amara and Aiden, and the fence between their worlds was starting to rot under the weight of something stronger: hope. Amara's father, however, wasn't ready to surrender. When he found out she had applied to Eldridge State College, the local school Aiden had been working toward, he erupted. "You will not throw away your future for a boy who doesn't even wear socks to a dinner table." Amara said quietly, "You mean a boy who's held me when I cried, who makes me laugh like you never could, who loves me without needing to fix me." He forbade it. He threatened to cut her off. Months later, she walked away with nothing but a suitcase, a scholarship, and Aiden waiting outside in his old pickup truck. They moved into a tiny apartment that smelled like old carpet and fresh beginnings. She worked shifts at the bookstore. He started an apprenticeship in auto design. They barely had time. They barely had money. But they had enough. Enough love to make it through night classes and overdue bills. Enough laughter to survive ramen dinners and noisy neighbors. Enough dreams to stitch together something that looked like a future. Their relationship wasn't perfect. They fought. They stumbled. There were days they didn't speak, nights they cried apart. But the beauty of real love is not in its flawlessness, it's in its refusal to give up. And slowly, Eldridge changed. Inspired by Amara's choice, other students from Rosewood started volunteering on Maple Crescent. The community center expanded. Aiden organized the town's first youth tech workshop. People started talking across fences instead of building higher ones. Even her father, proud and distant, came one night, not to apologize, but to listen as his daughter spoke at the town's Unity Forum. Amara said, "Love doesn't need to ask permission to be real. It just needs the courage to stay." Aiden smiled from the front row, his eyes full of tears. 10 years later, when they opened the Fence Cafe, it stood right where Rosewood met Maple. On the wall behind the register hung a wooden board from the fence that once divided them, now painted over with the words, "Love climbed this." And above the doorway, etched in small letters, "Where we begin is not where we end."